during the economic crisis of 2008, 2010, right, where the workers in factories said, we know this is a hard time, so we are willing, to put in the extra hour. We want to see our company remain, to be sustained, to succeed. And what happened was that the federal union sued the workers who voluntarily wanted to continue to work. So these are all these cases where we continue to shoot ourselves in our own foot, and that is no longer sustainable at some point. And I think this is what the people in Europe feel. Let me give you one last statistic. If you are a 15-year-old Italian now, the expected work life you're gonna have is 35 years. I mean, that's very much on the lower end. For the Denmark, it's 42. For Austria, it's 38. But the point is, if you imagine, so we get about, life expectancy is around 80. Out of those 80 years, we're gonna work for, let's say, 35 years. This is not sustainable under current conditions. And what I believe is, and this is going to be the great unknown, which is why I cannot tell you exactly what's going to happen. So far in Europe, we haven't seen a politician capable of channeling that anger, right? Of giving a voice to that anger. So whether it's a Trump-esque figure or whatever you would call it. So we haven't seen that, but I think the potential is there. So if you have a politician, I believe, that would stand up and say, listen, I cannot promise you to, retire at 65 and go to university until, 42. These are going to be hard times. But what I can guarantee you is that I will fight tooth and nail for affordable energy, for good public schools, for controlling immigration, right? And I can lead by example. I am convinced that such a politician would have tremendous potential. But we are in this situation where all the potential new politicians come out of the same bubble where the previous politicians were, created. So I don't think they see it yet, which is, again, going back to 2016, which is why for all his absurdities, and I think he grasped it more instinctively than strategically, Donald Trump was successful. I mean, he was absurd, but he was authentic. He spoke to something, he spoke to anger that people felt. And we have very good numbers. For example, the election in Virginia in the fall last year, he mobilizes people that have never gone to the voting booth in their entire life, right? And then this gold toilet possessing, too long tie wearing guy comes along, and rural Virginia voters say, yeah, that's the guy I'm going to give my vote for. And I think we know why that's the case.
Yeah, well, there's a real opportunity on both the classic liberal and the small c conservative front right now to make a compelling case for the genuine working class and to say, we admire your thrift and competence and diligence and conscientiousness. We admire your willingness to make sacrifices for your children. We want you to be richer if you're doing so by being productive and generous. We support all that in a full-fledged and wholehearted manner. We don't want you to be guilty about that because you're bringing the wealth to the world that stops people from dying from absolute privation and destroying the environment while doing so. And all of that's just lying on the table for someone who isn't a populist and just appealing to resentment to carry forward. And, maybe that could happen. We're trying to hatch plans on that front in a variety of manners at the moment. And so, but I am very, very nervous about the upcoming winter, especially because not especially, but in part because the Russians have the control of the taps to Germany. And if I was Putin and pushed into a corner, I wouldn't hesitate to use that for a second. That's a much preferable alternative to nuclear weapons, and also one that's much more morally justifiable. Not that it's morally justifiable, but it's more morally justifiable. And it's not like he doesn't have devastating economic weapons at his disposal.